Welcome back to the Good Channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still playing out the short-term bullish relief as we now have some massive crypto news today, which I'll talk about in just a moment, alongside the Bitcoin dominance continuing the dump to the downside, which is great news for altcoins like Solana continuing this bullish breakout. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, taking a look at some massive crypto news today, because the CFTC, which is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission in the United States, is apparently about to allow US citizens to trade on Binance and other foreign crypto exchanges. And this comes from a blog post, a new advisory issued by the CFTC over the last one day on the actual CFTC website. So this is the source of the information coming from the CFTC. And the reason why this is massive news is because currently, and basically all throughout history, essentially leading up to this moment, the United States has heavily restricted US citizens in what they can access online, essentially, especially in terms of crypto exchanges here. Currently, US citizens are effectively banned from accessing foreign crypto exchanges. And we can see that Binance US over here on Twitter has actually just hinted at essentially taking off the US and just making it Binance, as Binance might be just coming to the US without the Binance.us. And obviously, the US has one of the largest capital markets in the world, so this is a big deal for crypto. If exchanges are opened up now to US trading, it means potentially a lot more volume, a lot more trading, and a lot more capital can come from the United States and pump into crypto if this all gets through. And so obviously this is very good news for really the overall crypto market, but especially for other exchanges outside of the US, and especially US citizens potentially about to have a little bit more freedom finally after many years of lacking that freedom. And really the only bad news is essentially it'll be more competition for US-based exchanges like Coinbase, for example. Obviously, they might not necessarily like this, but with that being said, if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today on the weekly time frame, the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. But on this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we still have that major bearish divergence still actively playing out for the price of Bitcoin. And obviously, I've been talking about this pretty much every day for around a month now on the channel. And if we're looking at the Bitcoin price over the last 1 month, we can see overall, just to sum it up, a lack in bullish momentum, basically showing a bit of weakness, struggling a little bit to go much further towards the upside here on the larger timeframes over the last 1 month. And obviously that's exactly what I've been saying the price will do over the last 1 month, and that could likely continue at least for the coming weeks, possibly even another month could be a likely scenario, just basically showing weakness and lacking bullish momentum on the larger timeframes. But remember, we can see short-term bullish moves on smaller timeframes during this larger cool-off that we're currently seeing. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, currently we're still kind of lacking momentum to either direction. Technically speaking, the MACD is looking a little bit more bearish than it is bullish, as the histogram is currently sitting in the red, not the green, but we're still not really seeing significant momentum to the downside or towards the upside. And so essentially this is pointing towards potentially a slight little pullback, but honestly maybe a bit of choppy sideways price action, kind of like this type of price action is probably the most likely outcome in the coming days or weeks in terms of the 3-day time frame here. But if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, technically this bearish divergence is still active on the daily time frame, with still higher highs confirmed in the price, lower highs confirmed in the RSI. But with that being said, obviously we've started to run into some major levels of support here. First of all, we have this level, which we bounced from this local low so far at close to 109,000, around 108.8k to 109,000, acting as key support. And below that level, we have more support at around 106,500 and more support at around almost 105,000, around 104.9k. And as for resistance, we're currently somewhat struggling around 112,000, give or take. But of course, if we break out back above 112,000 and actually start holding above this level now, in that situation, they'll likely act as new support and will likely continue a move towards the next points of resistance. So if we're zooming into the smaller timeframes, looking at the shorter term, we do have a point of resistance right here at around 113.4k, but really above that, the next important resistance sitting at around 114.8k right here, and then above that, the next significant level of resistance, very important resistance, sitting at around 117,000. But overall, if we're simply looking at the shorter term here, we're still actively playing out a bullish divergence. As of recording this video, we've not yet confirmed the invalidation to invalidate this bullish divergence, which means it is still active right now for the price of Bitcoin, which means we should be expecting either just a slight bullish relief or maybe a little bit of choppy sideways price action here and there. So basically price action like what we've seen over the last 2 days is most likely going to continue maybe for another day. And obviously this is exactly what I've been saying the price will do over the last 2 days. Around 2 days ago, right down here, I said expect this type of price action as the most likely outcome. And I'm saying the exact same thing right now. Expect this to continue at least for another 1 day or so. But remember, this is only looking at the short term, the very small moves in the price, not moves that play out over weeks or months, just moves that play out maybe over a few days that are relatively small moves. And remember, on the larger time frames, based on these larger bearish divergences and this momentum in the MACD on the 3-day time frame, at least for now, we don't really have significant bullish momentum. We're just simply seeing a short-term bullish relief, a very normal outcome, a very common outcome from a bullish divergence, but not really massive high momentum towards the upside. And so for all we know, this could just be another short-term bullish relief, another short-term bounce from support along the way towards the downside in this larger cool off. Obviously, if we're looking at the bigger picture here on the 4-hour time frame, we're essentially in a short-term bearish trend, which is basically what this larger cool off actually is on the larger time frames. Basically just a shorter term bearish trend during a much larger bull market. And so that is still the situation, still playing out as I've been saying here on the channel. And of course, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I've been taking a lot of my trades over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive bonuses and enter into a 25,000 USD prize pool, which is only available if you use that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out to potentially get some major bonuses, essentially free money from the exchange just by trading crypto. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, once again, check it out. First link below this video. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also Pinex as another exchange out there that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to Pinex below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page where you can also claim some major bonuses. Like for example, if you simply make an account, complete KYC, you get a free $50 bonus onto your Pinex account just simply by doing that. It takes about 60 seconds to do this in the second link below this video. Get a free $50 bonus onto your account, and also deposit bonuses. For example, if you deposit just $100, you get a $100 bonus, or if you deposit up to $10,000, you get a $1,000 bonus, free money from the exchange onto your Pinex account, simply just by clicking the link below this video and making your account, making those deposits. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, once again, check this out, first and second link below this video. And in case you're wondering, yes, you can access Pinex without KYC as well. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and right now we actually have a smaller amount of liquidity starting to build at roughly 114,000, and we still have a decent amount of liquidity building at around 116,000 and just under 116,000, so around 115.8k. And so obviously I've already mentioned over the last couple of days, we do have a little bit more liquidity to the upside just in the immediate short term than what we have towards the downside, which means of course it's likely the price will be drawn towards the upside, which also aligns with this bullish divergence playing out just in the shorter term. So expect once again potentially a little bit more of just a slight bullish relief, but remember we're still currently lacking momentum. And also remember that as we approach these certain points of resistance, the price could possibly reject from those levels, so keep that in mind as well. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the 3-day time frame, we're still continuing the major pullback for the Bitcoin dominance, which is actually good news for the altcoin market. Not necessarily every single altcoin, but a lot of the major altcoins are usually holding up better than what Bitcoin is doing if the Bitcoin dominance is dumping like this. And so obviously this is still the situation for the Bitcoin dominance, still in the pullback, still playing out bearish price structure. So once again, good news for altcoins. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, Ethereum is still simply trading in this same sideways price range as I've been saying over the last few days. And of course, we have this key area of support sitting in between around 3.9k to 4.1k, and this significant level of resistance is sitting at around 4.8k to 4.9k. And so basically just continue to expect the price to bounce from this area of support and reject from this area of resistance, which is currently causing just a sideways price range, obviously bouncing around between that support and resistance. And this will likely continue at least over the next next few days, maybe longer, maybe even a week or two, but at least for the next few days, I do expect the price to remain in this sideways price range for the time being. But technically speaking, the much larger price structure, if we're looking at the overall trend, this is still currently looking very bullish in terms of the 3-day time frame here. And if we're taking a look at the daily Ethereum price chart, we can see that right now the price is technically still playing out this bearish divergence because we've not yet confirmed any invalidation to invalidate this bearish divergence. But like I've already been saying over the last few days, it's unlikely we'll see a major crash straight towards the downside based on this bearish divergence by itself. And so honestly, a much more likely scenario, which once again I've already been saying over the last few days, is maybe just a bit of choppy sideways price action playing out here, especially due to the fact that we're still in a sideways price range, and especially due to the fact that Bitcoin is playing out some slight bullish price action while the Bitcoin dominance is dumping, which is really going to help a lot of the altcoin market avoid bearish price action, at least for now, just in the shorter term here. And so overall, that is what I expect moving forward. Basically the same thing I said over the last 2 days, some choppy sideways price action remaining in this sideways price range for the time being. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 2-day time frame, of course, Solana is continuing to play out this bullish trend with the latest breakout above this very important area of resistance, which was sitting in between around 190 to 200. And that is now acting as new support because we've confirmed the breakout, actually retested that area, now confirmed a bounce from that area, which is obviously very bullish price structure. And so like I've already been saying, the next major price target is this Fibonacci level here, sitting at around $230. And if we confirm a breakout above 230, in that situation, I'll be targeting this previous high based on the candle closes, first of all, sitting at just above 260, around 263, give or take. And above that, of course, we have the candle wick high at just under $300, around 295. But once again, first of all, the immediate target is roughly $230. And as for support, if we see any sort of pullback for whatever reason, once again, expect a lot of support in between around 190 to 200. And overall, the price structure and the trend still currently looking very bullish, still forming higher lows and higher highs. And of course, continuing to break out above key resistance, which is bullish price structure. And if we're taking a look at this 2-day Solana price chart, we've now successfully confirmed a breakout above this line of resistance for the rising wedge, which was sitting at around $207. We've now seen a 2-day candle close confirming above $207, which is obviously another bullish signal. Now, technically, we do have some price targets based on this rising wedge, but with that being said, a rising wedge actually has a very low probability of hitting the bullish price target. So essentially, I only really look at a rising wedge and basically look at the price target for the rising wedge if we confirm a break below the support. So personally, I look at this as an invalidation signal, basically telling us that the rising wedge is no longer forming. And of course, if you've been watching the last few videos here over the last few days, you'll know that this never actually confirmed. I wanted to make that clear over the last few days. I've been saying this never confirmed. It was only just possibly forming. So overall, we're still looking very much more bullish than we are bearish for the price of Solana. But what has already confirmed for quite some time now is this massive bearish divergence for the price of XRP on the weekly XRP price chart. We already have confirmed higher highs in the price, lower highs confirmed in the weekly XRP RSI. And obviously the last time this happened, a size similar to this on the weekly XRP price chart was all the way back here many years ago, around end of 2020, entering into early 2021. And what came next was a massive cool off, a major pullback in the price over the next multiple months. And of course, I've been talking about this over the last 1 month, for probably over a month now, since around $3.40 from almost all-time highs. And obviously since around $3.40 when I was talking about this, we have seen this play out very nicely over the last 1 month. And this could likely continue to play out leading into September. But obviously, as I always say, we could see some short-term bullish reliefs here and there while we're seeing the larger cool-off that plays out over multiple weeks, if not months. So of course, over the last few days, we have been seeing a little bit of choppy sideways price action, and that could possibly continue for a little longer, just basically bouncing around sideways here, especially if Bitcoin plays out something similar, either bouncing around sideways or playing out a slight bullish relief, and especially if the Bitcoin dominance continues to pull back. Once again, that can help a lot of the altcoins just in the shorter term, at least for now, avoid some bearish price action. And so overall, those are my expectations, the price to bounce around a little bit more in the shorter term, bouncing around relatively sideways between support and resistance. But overall, talking about the next multiple weeks, maybe the next 1 month, still not looking too good, still not really expecting significant bullish momentum, maybe just short-term bullish moves here and there. And in terms of support and resistance to watch out for, we still have a lot of support at around around 285 to 290, and below that more support at around 275, and a significant area in between around 255 to 262. And as for resistance, we have some resistance at around 310 and major resistance at around 334 to 340. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, right now Chainlink is also playing out somewhat similar price action, kind of bouncing around relatively sideways, playing out a bit of short-term bullish price action and some short-term bearish price action, but overall not showing significant momentum to really either direction, at least for now in the immediate short term. And in terms of support and resistance to watch out for, we're still kind of struggling to get back above $25. So for now, at the higher $24 area, closer towards $25, that's still acting as a bit of shorter term resistance. And above that, obviously, we still have significant resistance at closer towards $27, really at around $26.70 to $27 as a major area of resistance, as I've been saying since before we perfectly rejected from that area. And of course, only if we break out above $27 with confirmation and holding above that level, in that situation, that would set up a price target at closer towards $30. But obviously, for now, we still have that $27 level, and of course, closer to $25, acting as a bit of resistance. And as for support, we could find some support at roughly around $23.30, give or take, so just above $23, acting as some short-term support. And below that, we have the next significant support starting at just above $21, around $21.40, give or take, but really in between around $20 to $21. That's the next major area of support towards the downside if we break below this previous low just here at just above $23. But even if the price of Chainlink were to continue a pullback all the way back down towards around $20 to $21, for as long as we're holding above that area, technically we can still remain within a larger bullish trend, forming higher lows and higher highs. But obviously, if we were to see a break below around $20 with confirmation, that'll be the first significant change in the larger price structure. So not just short-term pullbacks, but technically starting to possibly reverse the larger bullish trend into a larger bearish trend, only if we break below around $20 to $21. So for now, obviously, we're still technically looking bullish. If we're talking about the larger price structure or the larger trend at play, we're just playing out a short-term pullback during the larger trend. And if we're taking a look at this daily Chainlink price chart, of course, one of the main reasons that is affecting the price in the shorter term, one of the main reasons as to why we're seeing a bit of a cool off, lacking bullish momentum, is due to the fact that we're actively playing out this bearish divergence now, which I've been warning about every day since pretty much this exact high right here at around $26 to $27. I've been saying expect potentially a slight pullback, maybe some choppy sideways price action, but ultimately lacking bullish momentum, struggling a little bit, at least for a number of days, maybe even a week or two. And so considering we've not yet invalidated this bearish divergence, it means it's still ultimately active, which means at least for the next few days, maybe even another 1 week, that sort of time frame, expect a bit of weakness for the price of Chainlink, basically just cooling off a little bit after all of the previous bullish price action. But remember, it is possible we can remain in the larger bullish trend after we first see a little bit more of a cool off in the shorter term. And so those are my expectations for the crypto market and some major crypto news today. And of course, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.